Federation, which is the umbrella of all chambers across the world. And the experience that I've seen across the globe is an experience that I really want to tap in and bring into Nairobi, bring into Kenya, so that we can prepare Nairobi to become the hub of Africa Continental Free Trade Area. The 54 countries actually signed the tripartite and signed the agreement that the 1.4 billion market population will be able to interact with them together in terms of trade. And therefore, in Nairobi, it will be very important for us and mandatory to have policies that will support trade. We will be able to have trade policies that will guide and guidelines that will guide the businesses, and also policies that will guide the entire National Assembly, policies that will guide the planning sector, policies that will guide also the executive, so that we don't have issues of our members who are the private sector or Juakali or the hawkers being arrested by Askaris. Once they are arrested, nobody charges them because there's no clear guideline on how to charge and what section to use, and therefore we must be deliberate with the MCAs who will be elected to make sure that from the beginning we look at the blueprint and we look at the areas of concern. We make sure that all the bylaws that are used today, we move from the colonial or the colloquial way of doing business and make sure that we have and deliberately make sure that all the bylaws are actually favoring the private sector. Today, if the private sector has no resources, if the private sector has no business, then the entire economy will not grow. And we are happy because His Excellency the President of Ngatia, who is also our leader at the Jubilee Party, is actually making every effort to make sure that by the time we get to August, at the end of this year, we have a 13 trillion GDP. Nairobi holds 60% of the GDP of the entire country. And therefore, it is very important for us to have a leadership that understands business, a leadership that will be able to have conversations with captains of industry across Africa, across the region, and across the globe. Excuse me. And having said that, I believe I am the best person placed to support this sector. I have supported the sector and our members at the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and I have been able to revive businesses. I have been able to adapt what we call governance, ethics, integrity. I have been able to put together teams that will be able to support the micro and also the informal sector as well. I'm saying that we need also to work in collaboration, in partnership with the national government as the county. We need to work with other counties across the country because these counties actually trade in Nairobi, export their products in Nairobi, and all the certificates of origin or certificates, preferential certificates, are actually issued in Nairobi. And therefore, it would be very important to make sure that all systems are working, to make sure that the health sector is adequate, that each and every hospital in Nairobi can be able to afford drugs that will be consumed by the population in Nairobi and for free. And the other thing is to make sure we support a national insurance fund so that they can be able to provide insurance to the entire informal sector, to women who are giving birth every day, and so that all the mortality rates can be able to be accommodated within the NHIF. And secondly is to adapt to new technology, to make sure that we adapt and support the youth on digital economy. Today, the entire youth are actually so talented, very vibrant, and all youth today are actually on what we call e-commerce and trading online. And therefore, we must also, within the next few days of our tenure, once we are sworn in, is to make sure that we have digital money so that we can support that vocation of the youth, so that we can support the young ones on intellectual property. These guys are so talented, but unfortunately they take information to those who have the capacity, and eventually their ideas are either taken away from them and they're left vulnerable. We are there to support them on intellectual property, that they can be able to utilize their talent and their ideas. We must be able to connect our city. We must be able to connect every ward. We must be able to have what we call the social places. In my tenure, there is nobody who will be refused to come to my office. And this is an example you have seen today. Everybody who is my supporter, everyone who is looking for opportunities, everyone who is looking to give me information or tell me the challenges that they're facing, I open my hands and I allow them to come and talk to me. This is an example you have seen today. They have followed me and they're behind me. When we go downstairs, you will see I walk with them and I listen to them and I support them. And I will promise that once we do that, the next 5 years, from the day we enter the office, we leave politics behind and we make sure that we are bringing business to politics. And this way, we shall be able to support the head of state, the 5th president of this country, Raila Amolo Odinga, because he needs us as the private sector. He needs our ear, he needs our hand to support him and to show him the way on how we are going to build this economy. I am so excited because the man I just mentioned, one thing, he is an engineer. 2, he is a business. He understands the challenges we face as businesses. And therefore, it will be very easy for 2 business people to interact and to solve issues that we are going to have. I have what we call social capital, because across the globe I am able to bring in and to tap in support from development partners. And this is one of the things we have lacked in Nairobi, to bring in partners who will come to special economic zones and take advantage of the areas that have been supported by the national government within the Agenda 4, to make sure that every export within the export processing zones being supported. It is important then to have conversations with the National Assembly to make sure that we support the informal sector in terms of the tax regime. We make sure we give them reliefs, we give them tax holidays, so that they can be able to build their businesses. We can give them 5 to 7 years, and that way we shall be able to support them. Have conversations with the national government so that they can have guarantee schemes to support the entire private sector. And therefore, the finance institutions will have that appetite to give loans, to give guarantees to the private sector as well. And therefore, mind unless you have questions, I have more that I'm going to speak with my people down here, but I believe and I want to thank the Secretary General because they have received my documents, and I believe now we are going to the next level of making sure we speak to the Mwananchi, we go to the ground, we go door to door and sell our vision.
Kidogo ama mna maswali kwa? Sema kidogo. Sawa. It is the joy of every political party to receive candidates or to receive aspirants. It's even more joyful when you receive candidates or aspirants of quality. Today, I must say that as the Secretary General of Jubilee, I am delighted to receive the papers of Bwana Richard Ngatia, who wants to vie for the position of the governor in the city of Nairobi. I have listened to what he has said, and knowing where we have come, where we are coming from as a people, as a country, as Nairobi dwellers, you can actually see the stark difference between the previous management that was available and what we are now putting on the table. I am impressed with what I've had. We have seen the papers na makaratasi iko sawa na tunampokea hapa katika Jubilee headquarters. We are happy to have him as our candidate, as our aspirant. Of course, we will deal with the others. na niseme ya kwamba Nairobi controls more than 60% of the total revenue or of the GDP of this country. The management of this city is not something that we are going to gamble with. We may have gambled with it in the past. And when we hear and listen and receive papers from individuals like Richard, who are demonstrating a track record of networks across the globe, not just local networks. Somebody who is able to re-establish Nairobi as a hub, a financial hub, a communication hub, a hub for everything. And you will agree that we lost a bit of that ground under the previous management. Then we are happy as a party. Kwa hivyo yangu leo ni kumpokea na kusema ya kwamba tuna furaha kuwa na yeye. Tuna furaha kwa sababu alichagua kupitia chama cha Jubilee, na tutaendelea pamoja na yeye, tutasaidiana na yeye na wale wengine ili tuhakikishe ya kwamba ule uongozi tutakuwa nao katika kaunti ya Nairobi ni uongozi ambao unafaa. I must say that I was really listening to hear whether he will mention Gikomba, whether he will mention pande yetu ya chini pahali wanabiashara wako wengi. Our competitors on the other side, you remember on the floor of the house, the UDA brigade has always said that we do not understand what goes on in Gikomba. Now we have a candidate who seems to understand it better than many. And I tell you, for many reasons, including those ones, we are happy to have him as our candidate or as our aspirant. We will of course deal with the rest and tuendelee mbele. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka kumpokea tu, nimepata, amelipa kama vile watu wamelipa.